Western Mass News reporter Tim Callery was first on the scene. He joins us live now with the very latest. Tim.
Well, Dave and Lindsay, the scene has since cleared. The rescue itself took place here in these woods behind me. Now, that victim is a 17-year-old male, and he is said to be in serious condition. Now, Southwick Police. Well, of course, that's right. A very sad evening here in Westfield tonight. This fire, as you mentioned, resulting in a fatality. Now, that victim's remains are still inside the home, which sits here behind me. At least one person was rushed to a local hospital after being shot here. You can see here behind me the yellow police tape is up. Of course, I can tell you there is a real heaviness here in town today. A lot of people very heartbroken over the tragedy that took place here over the weekend. I want to point something out to you, though. That ladder that you see there behind me wrapped up in the police tape, that was the ladder that was used by the father of one of these victims. He tried to get up to that second floor to rescue those two children, but of course that attempt was unsuccessful, and now a growing memorial is building underneath that ladder. Parents here in Longmeadow put their trust in Jimmy Chang to educate their children here at the Kuman Center, but now the 32-year-old is accused of the unthinkable. A lot of questions still remain surrounding Hannah Nazareth's death, and now the district attorney's office is calling out several agencies for failing to protect the little girl. Very much an active scene here behind me. As you mentioned, this is all happening at Exit 8 here along the Mass Pike. Now, essentially what happened was Mass State Police telling Western Mass News that this tractor trailer was traveling eastbound on the Pike heading towards Palmer when the wheels locked up and then caught fire. A little girl's pink and black shoe sitting on top of a pile of burnt-out debris, a grim reminder of the innocence that was lost inside this Mechanic Street home over the weekend.
It's a tragic thing that they had to go through. Two
children, one in first grade, the other in second grade, died as a result of a fire that tore through the home Saturday afternoon. An 8-foot ladder wrapped in police tape stands as a symbol of desperation. The father of one of the victims tried using it to save the children, but was unsuccessful. News of the deaths too hard for residents to comprehend.
Cannot fathom.
Tough situation for the town.
Yes, it is.
Now neighbors and total strangers like Tina Adams place cards and teddy bears to honor the two girls who were taken too soon.
My mind, it was heartbroken. It shattered, and I wanted to cry. I wanted to come over and give him a hug.
Adams, who lost a 2-year-old family member herself in a fire, says she knows what the families are going through.
A lot of pain and suffering, what these families went through.
A mystery still lingers over this Pittsfield neighborhood as to what exactly took place inside the third-floor apartment of 72 Plunkett Street. Back on August 3rd, the bodies of Anthony Nazareth and his daughter Hannah were found inside. A recently released autopsy report shows Anthony died of a heroin overdose. The report says Hannah was deceased at least a month prior. It's still unclear as to how she died. District Attorney David Kaplis says the 11-year-old's body was too decomposed to find answers. Daniel Hines lived below the Nazareths. He says he asked Anthony about Hannah when he noticed she was not around.
He said he was at her grandmother's in New York.
The DA says that's a lie Anthony Nazareth told to everyone who questioned his daughter's whereabouts. Anthony was attending this outpatient Veterans Affairs clinic in Pittsfield. On July 23rd, the clinic contacted Pittsfield police for a well-being check on Anthony. Dr. Stephen Kessler is the Associate Chief of Mental Health Services for the VA. He says he cannot specifically speak on Anthony's case, but says there are several reasons for well-being checks.
If someone we're concerned may be at risk to hurting themselves or may have been injured, and we can't reach them by phone.
According to police reports, an officer was dispatched to the Nazareth home, but it was unclear whether or not contact was made with Anthony. District Attorney Kaplis releasing this statement reading, quote, Hannah Nazareth was failed by a number of people. While there is no indication that different actions may have saved her, her dignity in death was not honored, and questions will always remain about how and why she died. Fran Chan Lee's wife receives an emotional embrace from the man who tried to save her husband's life.
I found him in the most traumatic state of his life, which ended up being the last. I had to do it. I had to meet her, and I had to let her know that at least someone was there.
Stephen Studley joined a group of local law enforcement, clergy, and residents who came out to pay their respects to Lee and the family he left behind.
We are so sorry for this senseless death. It absolutely breaks our hearts what they must be going through.
Lee was the father of 3 children, ages 4, 3, and 18 months. He was working for his family's Chinese restaurant, delivering food to an address here on Homestead Avenue. It's still a mystery as to what exactly transpired when Lee arrived to the street, but later in the evening, Studley found Lee lying on the side of the road. Family and friends say his wife is still in shock that her husband is gone, his children too young to understand what happened to their father.
And they will all go to the window, say, Daddy's come home. But it's still very hard for the whole family.
Tonight, song and prayer projecting a message of peace as well as hope that who is responsible for Lee's death will be caught.
There is a strong message and to our city, and we are against the violence. We are all stand together.